to get the job and not signing contracts, something like that. So also a list of resources where you can find help. Okay, let me put this one here closer so I can see. We start with employment basics here. Mainly when you come to Australia, anyone who has a visa that allows them to work, they can work, but they need to have something called tax file number. And this tax file number is for the Australian taxation officer know that you are someone working and you have your rights to receive the right amount of money, the right amount of a leave, and also being protected by the law. So in Australia, the obligation is you cannot start working for someone with TFN without having a tax file number, because when someone employs you, they need to know that because they need to pay you. And years ago, Australia has had before, some people could employ you with an employment called cash hand. Means that you work and then you receive money on your hand, but no paperwork. So Australia now has been forcing, and everything has changed to protect the employees. So it means that everyone needs to have a contract, and also your legal rights are there for you. Means that you have your superannuation if you work hours, something that you are allowed to have superannuation. Okay, so very important to understand the tax file number and how it works, because even as a student, you have the rights to work, and Australia is one of the countries that is wonderful that you can work. As I mentioned to you, I have a son who is international student, or was international students in Europe, and he chose the country where he could work because not many countries students can work. But the thing is, students, they have limited conditions when we think about work and number of hours and the rights, okay? So the thing is, in these rights, you need to understand to be able to, if anything happens, you can really go and find support and solutions for your problem. One important thing here for you as in your visa, student visa, as a student, you can only work 48 hours per fortnight. So it means that you work 24 hours per week, and that's it. Nothing else. You cannot work more than this number of hours. If you have a partner coming with you and you are doing a master's degree or a PhD, your partner, your spouse, they can, or even your kid, can work full-time, but not you. If you are doing a diploma or a bachelor degree and you have a partner or a spouse, the person can only work the same hours as you, 48 hours per fortnight. So no more than that, okay? So what happens if you work more than hours limit? You can be sent away. Your visa can be canceled. There is no mercy. You just broke the law. And many people think, oh, they will never catch me. I can do 1 hour more here, 2 hours more there. Everything now is connected and they are watching you. So don't do it. So just to give an information, a month ago, I was called by an officer in Bali that a Brazilian citizen was detained at the airport. And the reason why she was detained at the airport was because she came to Australia and applied for a tourist visa, but she could not work. Her visa didn't grant her to work, but she did. And she thought was, okay, no one you discover that I'm working, I'm doing cash hand, casual jobs, no one you know. So her visa came to an end and she had to reapply. But in this case, she had to leave Australia to apply for an outside of Australia. So she went to Bali and she applied for her visa there. Her visa then was granted. So she came to Australia. When she arrived at the airport, she was detained by the police. And then they questioned her about, have you worked while you were in a tourist visa? And she tried to hide, but by that point she couldn't. She had to confess. That point, her visa was canceled and she was deported. And she was deported to the country where she came from. That was Indonesia. So she spent, I believe, 3 days at the airport in Bali, waiting for the authorization to be able to embark back to Brazil, because not all the airplane companies or airline companies, they accept people deported. They don't transport people that have committed anything or been deported. So it took a while to get the permission for her to travel back to Brazil. So pay attention, because it's not something that they don't know. They know what's going on. And if you are caught, you are invited to leave the country in a better way and never come back. Okay, never welcome back. So, but however, you can work during your breaks from the university or for the course that you are doing. You can work full time. That's the only period that you can work full time. And that's the period when you make most of the money, to save the money for the time when you can only work part-time. Okay. So, but again, you need to complete your semester, you need to complete your exams, and there is no more classes, and then you are officially allowed to work full time. Okay. So if you have any doubts, your visa status, especially the Viva portal, you can have all the information about the work restrictions. And some students, they come with a scholarship from their own countries or for countries, or they have been granted a scholarship from Australia. So these have specific rules and you need to understand your rules. Okay. So based on the visa that you got and if the scholarship attached to that as well. So also when you are working, this is a very important thing. If you never do journal, I suggest you to do a journal with the times or even your phone calendar or your phone planner to ensure that you are working the right number of hours. And also to be sure that you have worked that shift with number of hours, because if an employer said that you haven't worked, you have everything recorded. Okay, even taking photos of the times in and time out, so you really know that your times and you have the right to if anything happens, to show that you were working. So here, all good? Everyone understood about this? All clear? Okay. I can take an aged care course after my course commence. Why do you want to take an aged care course after your course commence? You are here as Anjali Plaza. Could you please, if you have Anjali Plaza on your name, change your name, because something has happened and everyone now comes in as Anjali Plaza. So I believe you bought a course to come here and study. But if you want to work in aged care, they have short course or certificate 3. Depends, it's expensive. You won't have time to work. So depends what you want. If you are more clear about your question, I can answer your question. Okay. So let me get here. So how many of you here in this session has ABN or TFN? How many of you? You can put in your chat there, yes or no. Do you have a TFN or no? If you don't have it, I know you are not here. Let's see how many people. No, no, no. Good, not good, but you are away from here. Thanks for your answers. So a TFN is it's your safety space or safe document, or safety identity, tax identity, and protect you to against not good behaviors from employees, right? So the thing is, your TFN holds all the taxes that you are paying or you are discounted to pay. So you can start with your TFN. When you come to an employee, nowadays I believe is an electronic form, but before was a piece of paper that you had to put your name, your address, if the work that you are doing for this company is your primary job or is a secondary job, because sometimes you work in two different places and every place will request you to have a form for them with your TFN information. And then you can choose which one is your primary earning, means that you'll be taxed more for that than the other. So if you put your main one as you earning less, and probably you'll be paying less. But that's something that you need to check. Ask the HR person or someone who is contracting you what is the best way for you to answer the question about what is your primary employment. So this here also, when you have a TFN, of course, your TFN is connected to a superannuation. Your superannuation, I will be talking soon about, but it's something that you receive for the number of hours that you work. It's like a retirement pension or a retirement allowance that you have in Australia. And when I talk about this later on, you understand why. So your TFN is connected to your superannuation, so they need to be together. So how can you apply for TFN? In Australia, you go to MyGov account, you create a MyGov account, and then you need to link this service to other service that you have, like if you have medical insurance, if you have your superannuation, everything will be connected under the MyGov account. So in this case, you'll be filling the International Student TFN form, specifically for international students, okay? So the time when you apply here takes 28 days, and for you can apply before you receive, you need to apply before you receive your face payment. Okay, so it means that you cannot start a job without a TFN. So is the one of the first things that you need to do is apply for a TFN. And then you have this number, because what happens, they can give you a little protocol that you have a little number that is a waiting period there for 20 days. And then when you have your number, you can update for your employee, but you need to have the applications done, okay? So ABN is the Australian tax file number. It means that if you are doing any kind of services, Theophilus, yeah, you can apply as soon as you get in Australia, because you need an address, a geographic address in Australia. Don't need to wait until you get a job. You do it straight away as soon as you arrive, as soon as you have an address for you, okay? And if you change your address again, as I said last week, if you change your address, you need to update all the services with your new address. Don't forget this, okay? I believe they need to certify that you have an address in Australia. If you don't have an address in Australia, cannot be certified, and then you cannot have it. I think they also have your how they call the IPA. They see where you are, so probably you need to be in Australia. Okay. Yeah, you can try to apply, but I'm sure they need you to have your arrival in here. They ask the day you arrived as well. Okay. So let's go here for the ABN. ABN is Australian business number. Anyone can have an Australian business number. Why Australian business number? If you want to do Uber, if you want to do Uber Eats, Uber, if you want to do deliveries, if you want to do cleaning, wash cars, anything that is not an employment by an employer, but you are doing casual or you're doing, as you call, freelance work, you need to have an ABN because then you are the person responsible for yourself. Because an employer, you ask you a TFN. A service, you ask your ABN. So an ABN, you also pay taxes, but much less and depends on how much you earn. Okay, but it's very important that you are doing anything that you are sole trader. Someone is contracting you, that you really have an ABN to provide. Okay, you can apply for ABN through the government as well. Be very careful because many scams out there asking you to pay to have your TFN and your ABN. So if a website requests you a payment, they are a scam because this is the first service from the government. Okay, you don't need to pay. So you need to answer your questions about your business structure. For example, saying that you're a student, international students, and you'll be a sole trader, okay, or freelance. So in this case, if you are doing as a business, as a contractor, as a freelance, they ask you if you want to register for GST. GST is the tax that normally we pay when you have services. But Australia charges GST, or employer or a service charge the GST when they have a turnover, or for the year, the taxable year, they earn more than $75,000. So if you are earning less than $75,000 per year, you don't need to register. But you can ask me, hey, Sam, how I will know when I get $75,000? Probably for the first, second year, you never get $75,000 because you don't have the time to do the workforce to earn $75,000. So that's why you don't need a GST application. Okay. So now comes the superannuation. So this is where you have a forced savings for the future. If you stay in Australia forever, this will be accumulating as part of your life. If one day you leave Australia, you have the right to request the money back to you. Okay, when you leave Australia, means that you are leaving and never come back. Because if you intend to come back, then you ask you, so the money stays. Okay, stays in a fund account where they make your money grow. So it's a mandatory employer paid contribution, means I don't know if in your country you have this, but here in Australia, the employer pays part of their contribution into a retirement account for you. And as I said before, it's a force and saves for your future. So nowadays, the employer pay 12% above based on your earnings, your annual earning. And then they put this in your account. You cannot touch. You touch only when you retire. But as I said before, if you are leaving Australia for never come back, you can request to receive the money. Okay. So here, who gets this? If you earn over $450 before taxes, okay, in a calendar month, your employer must pay super on top of your wages. Means that, for example, you are working as a bartender and you did $350 with that employer on that month. So you don't have superannuation with the employer. But if you earn $450, then is before tax, then you receive the superannuation. So what happens if how do you do your superannuation? Your superannuation is something that you can choose. And one of the biggest mistakes that people that don't know the system in Australia, they do, is they have different jobs and different employers. They choose different providers of superannuation accounts. Means, for example, I have a business, and my business, I pay all my employees receive their superannuation in this bank, not bank accounts, but the account that belongs to X superannuation product. But let's say you are working with another employer, and that employer prefers or has as set for them, their employees, why superannuation account. So this is the big mistakes that when you don't know the system happens. You can have multiple superannuations with different employers, but you are losing money because they are charging you different rates and fees to keep your accounts. So what you can do, you can research what is the best in superannuation based on the fees that they charge, how much you need to contribute, and choose one. So when you come to an employer for the first time, the employer you ask you, do you have a preferred superannuation account or service or anyone who helps you? So you can say, hey, I have this, and then you add the name there, and then you pay your contribution or their contribution to you in that specific account that you mentioned to them. Otherwise, if you have plenty, and another one, by the end, this money will be dissipated because all these taxes and the fees that you pay having lots of superannuations will kill and eat all your money that you have received from employers, okay? So in this case, choose one and skip for one. If you have initially, you don't know which one is best for you and you have two or three, you can amalgamate them and do only one. And then sometimes when they do the amalgamation, they charge you exit fee or entrance fee. So you need to really understand what is the best situation for you. And you go online and you can read more about. And by the end of this, at the end of this booklet, you have more information about. So it's a personal decision, and the person who helps you about superannuation is someone specialized in superannuation. Not everybody can give information to you or tell you what's the best option for you if they are not a financial broker specialized in superannuation. So be very aware of this. Don't buy information from people that are not certified as financial accountant or financial broker for superannuation. Okay, the rules are very clear. So very important. And your superannuation you earn based on, as I said, annual salary. But you have the minimum that you need to work per hours to be hours and not many hours, but per amount of money to be able to be paid superannuation to you. So pay slips, many employers, they don't provide pay slips. And this is a big problem because if you don't have a pay slip, there is no guarantee of your superannuation and the amount that you are paying. So before we had lots of problems, as I said before, with cash hand, people not having pay slips. So employers, they excuse themselves to not pay because they didn't have anything to prove that they had employees. So nowadays, the government is more restrict. So it means every employer must provide a payslip, and also they need to show they are paying the superannuation into your account. So everything now is watched by the government. Okay. So the thing is, again, with the superannuation, the way it works, it's an investment account, and you can also choose which bonds, options, shares, your money is invested to grow. So you can, if you have no idea, you can go and see someone who is specialized. Normally, they don't charge you because they want you to be with their superannuation service, but they explain to you how it works. And then it's the best way of for you to learn. But also on the websites of superannuations, you can understand more about this, okay? So some you can choose, some they are default, so it's up to you. So it's learning about investing money. Again, compare the fees, insurance options that normally they offer you. Okay. So here, when you provide your tax file number, you are ensuring that your contribution that you are receiving because you are working and receiving more than $450 is going into your account without an extra tax. Okay. So be very sure that if you don't provide a TF number, you are paying more taxes too, but you have to pay to show your TF number. So as I said before, when you leave Australia, you can claim your super back under the Department of Australia Superannuation Payment, and then it's through the Australian Taxation Office. And can be tricky, so get used to understand what is a requirement to not let things for the last minute and you have to leave Australia and then you don't know how to recover your money. Okay, be sure to understand what is the process, what is necessary, and the forms that you need to fill out to be able to get there. So let me get here again in the chat because I have now 19 people and I have only 13 who have completed the attendance here. Okay. Okay, this is one here, right? Yeah. So if you haven't completed your attendance, please open your chat box, click on this link and complete it because otherwise you will not receive your booklet without completing your attendance and also your survey feedback. Let's continue. Any doubts about your superannuation or anything else that you'd like before we move forward? And look, when I came to Australia, it was very difficult to understand, navigate everything. So many paperwork, and you get overwhelmed. So as you are overseas, before you come here, you have all the time to read more, to learn more, and then test things. So when you are here, your life will be much easier because you'll be like speeding up. When people come to Australia, they say, wow, the time here passes very quickly. Seems like. So take the time as you are not here. You have time to learn about all the system before you arrive, okay? So now comes to the minimum wage and award rates that you have when you come to Australia. So from last July, the national minimum wage is $24.95 per hour, and as adult employee. Okay, so means you are over 18 and then you earn this. Okay. It's okay if I apply for 2 jobs part-time in Australia. Yes, if you don't exceed the 24 hours, the 24 hours per week, it's okay. Okay, so you can have a part-time 2 days and another part-time 1 day. And then if you accumulate the 48 hours per fortnight, it's all good. No worries. Okay. Let me see here. Why is not working? On words here, I get copy, copy, copy. Here, a new link. And now I need to bring every time the new link. See if this one works now, please. So let's go here. So many student-friendly jobs like in hospitality, retail, admin, they have these modern awards that protects the students and also the wages, means that you have, good, thank you. You are protected, especially if you are working after hours on a weekend as well. So what this happens is specific, you need to earn the minimum wage for that category of job or the type of jobs. And is including the penalties for the weekends and late night. So when you work a weekend, you earn more. When you work late night, you also earn more. So in these modern awards, you have jobs in hospitality, retail, admin, construction sometimes. What else do you have here? Cleaning services. you have some awards that are very specific for this, and you need to earn the minimum, okay? So how you calculate your what you are earning and your hours, okay? So you have something called pay calculator that is in the Fair Work website. So you say where industry that you are working and the hours you are working, and you see the correct rate, including the penalties if you are working on the weekend or late night. So in this case, it's up to you because it's changed to industry at the award. So you need to really to be sure that you are earning the money that you have the rights to. Okay. In this case, enter your job title, the number of hours that you are doing, and award to see your correct rate, including the loadings. So as I said before, payslip and recording your hours are very, very important because it's your voice against an employer. And you don't know this law and the system, and you can be very, very easily taken by someone who is not really correct, and you don't want this to happen. So to protect you, have your hours always recorded. And why, and keep all these hours stored or record in some place that you can easily find. If you have a cloud that based on where you are storing your data, good. If you don't have much data on your phone, you need to find a way, even if it's handwritten, to have everything recorded, even photos, okay? So to prove the hours you work, the tax paid, because the hours of your work you are earning, and you'll be tax deducted from what you have received, and also your contributions that you are receiving on your superannuation. So when you work for that week or that fortnight, when you receive, okay, so within 24 hours, you must receive a pay slip. So in your payslip is like having a receipt. When you buy something, you have the name of the company, their tax file number, the address, and everything. The same thing for your payslip. Have your correct name, your tax, Australian business number of the employer, because every employer has a Australian business number. So the number of hours that you worked, okay, how much they are paid per hour, how much was the gross, like the total payment, and how is the payment after tax or after superannuation. So, and how much the tax that has been withheld, and also super contributions. So everything needs to be there to inform you your rights, okay? If you don't receive a pay slip, oh my goodness, you need really to ask for them. And if the employer said to you that they don't provide pay slip, probably you need to find a better job, to be honest with you, okay? Because they are doing something that is not lawful. So here, as I said to you, is scan a photograph and store in a dedicated folder, electronic or physical, for 7 years. You can dispute anything within 7 years, and that's how the Australian Taxation Office law protects you. So never put anything away. How do you know you are underpaid? So if your hourly rate is below $24.95 as your minimum wage, you are being exploited, okay? If the employer is paying you cash hand without a payslip, a red flag again. If you don't receive penalty and overtime rates when you are working on weekends and public holidays, it's a red flag for you. So find another job, because if you confront them most of the time, they will not say anything or pay you. You can start a case and then you can complain, but it's a time consuming, it's emotional draining. You have all the rights, but you have also to have the energy to fight. So know how much you must earn, Be informed before you accept the job that you pay you, and the information that they pay you comes within the contract. So you have a contract, read the contract. The contract needs to have your name, the number of hours you'll be working, how much that you pay for the work that you are doing. Even if it's a casual job, they need to provide you with all this information, okay? So in this case here, the contract must have your role and what you'll be doing, okay? And if you found this advertised somewhere else, needs to match what was advertised. Why I say this? Because sometimes you find jobs through your friends. Oh, come here, my boss needs someone to help to do a move removal. And then you go there and you do the work. They say they pay you $30. And by the end, they say, oh, no, I was a problem. I pay you 20. You don't have anything to prove that they promised you $30 for the hour. So it means that you have been robbed. And then what you can do, because you don't have anything to prove that really was a contract in there. So know now the hours that you'll be working, number of hours, the location where you'll be working, and also that everything is within your studies and also your timetable, okay? So how payments are received in Australia. Last week, someone said, oh, I need to get used to be paid, to pay things weekly. Well, some companies, they pay weekly, some companies, they pay fortnightly, and some companies, they pay monthly. And overtime is also accrued in this period, so comes sometimes you don't receive in this week if you worked over the weekend, so you'll be receiving the next fortnightly. So you need to be very, very attentive to your information about the payment that you receive, okay? So this is how your overtime also is calculated. Probation period, if you get a contract, normally they get you to do a probation that could be 3 months or 6 months. In this case, if anything happened, if they see that you are not good fit for them, they can terminate your employment during the probation period. They don't need to be with you forever, okay? The notice period of termination in your contract, it states how much notice or the period that you need to give information to employer that you are no longer working for them. This is the case of having a contract, a part-time contract or a full-time contract. When you have a casual job, you don't need time to give notice to your employer. There is no need. But when you are part-time employee, you must, and full-time, okay? So, but this is stated in your contract. Confidentiality IP, it's very common for people working the creative roles, creative roles, or even arts and research. So be sure if you are working any of these roles and you are creating something, that if everything that you do belongs to the company or it's yours. So how this will be shared then, okay? So before you sign your contract, highlight anything you don't understand. You have the right, you don't need to sign the contract straight away. You have the right to read and understand. If you don't understand anything in the contract, you can ask the HR to give you information about what you having doubts, or you can go to also any legal free service that we have in Perth and ask them to help you with the understanding of your contract. By the end, if you cannot get anyone to help you, you can have some of the terms that you don't understand of your contract, put in ChatGPT and ask, give me a feedback. What is this about in my contract in Western Australia, right? So then ChatGPT can show you and say what it's about if you don't understand the language, okay? But if you see that something is so off, is not like so good to be true, or is so different, be sure that you understand what it's about. Okay, you have, as I said before, you have lots of community legal center. They offer free advice, so you can get this. Again, when you go through your material, be sure that you understand uh, what is requested. Go and visit the websites that I provide here in this booklet, so you can understand things before you come. Okay, so Fair Work Australia protects the employees, and one of the things that are very important for you to understand is that you have the right to have a leave. Australia is a wonderful country where the moment you start working, you start accumulating leave or holidays. This seems a detailed overview for a full-time job. Does this apply to part-time as well as a student can work only? So Theophilus, you ask here if overview, yeah, for a full-time job. Like if you have a part-time job or a full-time job, you have to have a contract, okay? Only casual, you can have a contract, but you don't need to give notice when you are casual. You can leave the job anytime, and also the employee can dismiss you anytime. But when you are a full-time and a part-time contract job, your employer, and you as an employee, you have obligations and rights. And one of the obligations that you have, as if you find another job or if you want to leave that job, there is a period for you that you need to give notice to the employer and tell them, hey, I will no longer be able to work for you. And in your contract needs to state that how many days, hours you need before you leave the job. Means, let's say I have currently a client, she's moving jobs, but she's getting holidays. She's now working full time. She applied for another job, had interview. She's waiting for the answer for the interview. If she gets the job, she will start the job as soon as she comes back from the holiday. But she's on holiday. How she can pay the notice, right? Send the notice to the employer, because she needs a time, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't know how was the contract written for her in her case. So I asked her, do you have a contract? What states in your contract about termination when you cannot no longer be working with the employee? How many days, how many hours do you need to give notice to your employer that you won't be able to continue the employment? The same thing if your employer want to terminate the contract, they can terminate, depends of the situation. If it's something that you did badly, they can dismiss you straight away. Otherwise, they can say, we have finished your contract by the end of the month. In the next 15 days, you continue work. So because there is a transition, and I believe this happens also in your country, maybe, yes, maybe not, but there is a transition for the employers to know that that space you'll be free, and they need to get someone to replace you in case they dismiss you or in case you are leaving because you wanted to. Okay. Okay, Theophilus, no worries about your leaving earlier. Okay. Be sure that you have signed up for the attendance. And when I send you the link for the survey, please complete the survey. Okay. So, as I said to you before, the time in Australia when you start working, the day when you start working, you start accumulating leave. We call it annual leave. And per year, you have 4 weeks that you can take off and do whatever you want. Okay. So you don't need to wait the whole year to use your leave. You can use the pro rata, means that if you have worked like 3 months, what you have accumulated in that period, you can take. If you have worked 6 months, if you want to take the full period that you accumulate for that 6 months, you can. So it doesn't mean also that you need to take all the 4 weeks together at once. You can take, for example, these 4 weeks, you can take 1 week in March. In July, you can take another one. And then in September, you can get another one. In December, you can get another one. So it's up to you how you distribute your leave. Okay. So, but also your pay slip comes with this information. Okay. You are entitled in Australia to have a sick and also a care, or called also care leave, means that 10 days paid per year. If you are taking care of someone, is your family member, you have the right to have these 10 days if anything happens. If the person who is your partner, your kid, if they get sick, if they need your support, you can take the 10 days. But it's 10 days. If you use the 10 days, you don't have any other day to take as sick or cares leave. So it means that you'll be working without, you are not working, but we are without pay as well. Okay, so if you are sick, be sure that you get good as soon as possible so don't you burn all your 10 days at once. So, and also these are not cumulative. You can, I believe every tax year, they reset the number of days, or maybe not. They have been changing this. It's something that I need to check. So unpaid parental leave, many of you probably, if you are not working for a long time, right? So you need to work at least 12 months for the company to be eligible to get the unpaid parental leave. And also the unfair dismissal is protecting a protection that you have after you complete 6 months working for a big company or 12 months for a small company. So it means that you can, like they say, we don't need you anymore. So unpaid parental leave, that is basically, in this case, if you guys have kids or if you are having babies here, okay, so the eligibility, you need to be employed for at least 12 months with the same employer before the expect birth or placement date. And you need to be working at least 10 hours per week on average to be able to get the parental leave. So in this case here, you get unpaid if you have a baby here in Australia. So the duration of your leave could be up to 12 months, the unpaid leave, or you can request additional 12 months. The employer also can say, no, you need to come back to work, otherwise I need to find someone, and then you resign, okay? Because depends of the reasons of the business, and you need to be understandable about the reasons that they are doing. So notice in evidence that you need to provide the employer most of the time, at least 10 weeks notice of your leave start date. So let's say you know that you are getting another job we are in November. End of December, you have at least 10 weeks, okay? And if you miss any job, any day of work, sometimes one day they don't request you to bring a certificate, but if it's more than 2 or 3 days, they request you a medical certificate, means you need to go to the doctor and have genuine certificate, okay? Regarding the unfair dismissal, who is covered and who is eligible. So in this case, you need 6 months to continue service with the same employer for most business. 12 months continuous service if your employer has fewer than 15 employees in small businesses, considered small businesses, okay? Where you cannot get this dismissal or minimum employment period to receive the benefits. If you are a casual employee, or unless they have a reasonable expectation of not going to work. So if you are not going to work, if anything happens, or if you don't want to do anymore, right? But you need to have a reason why you don't want to go. And also, if fixed term or seasonal works whole employment period genuine ends on a specific date. Let's say many people, they are picking fruits, they just pick fruits during a period. If you are fishers, they just fishing specific uh, fishes during a period. So depends. Sometimes you work more in the summer, sometimes you work more in the winter, and it's seasonal. So that's the exclusion if you have a minimum period here. What counts as unfair dismissal means that your employee send you away without really having a good reason to dismiss you. Is when you terminate without valid reason connect to your capacity or conduct, or not giving a fair chance to respond to any performance or conduct concerns, and if you have been denied a reasonable notice period or paying in lieu of notice. So paying in lieu is when you work, but you don't receive money. You receive a time where you can take that time off. So that's the paying in lieu. So you basically work, but instead of receiving money, you receive time off. So it's a trading. And also a dismissal could be unfair if you are subject to dismissal that was harsh, unjust, or unreasonable. Okay. So when you have the thing is, when you have trade in your time working or time that you can get free, if your contract terminates, you cannot request that money to be paid to you because you didn't take the time off. So you lose it. So be sure that when you work extra period for a time off later, that you take the time off later. Otherwise, anything at these hours will not be paid to you. Okay. Your rights. So when you have problems in the workplace, if it's a small, medium, or big company, and if they have HR department, it's much easier for you to come to the HR or even to your manager and explain the reason for you believe you were dismissed, they had a dismissal, and as to them is ask them to review the process. You can appeal, okay, to get this procedure done. Then you can lodge an application with the Fair Work Commission. You have 21 days from the date of dismissal to apply. If you apply on the 22nd day, gone, don't have any rights anymore. The application is free, and the Fair Work will facilitate a conciliation conference. Let's say you had a problem with the employer, they dismissed you and you believe it's unfair. That's why you need to have all the paperwork to be able to prove that you're right, that you did the right things. So, and then you put an application, and then the employer and you will come to a conciliation conference to come to an agreement. Okay. Many newcomers, they are so afraid of lodging an application, one for for the Fair Work Commission, or even a complaint when they have an accident at the workplace, because they are so afraid of losing the job, not being trusted, being considered as someone who brings more problems than solutions. So don't be afraid. In Australia, the law protects you. Okay. So in the conciliation and hearing session is mainly to discuss and seek mutual agreeable solution, resolution. Okay, so, and also you'll be able to talk, and then you hear your situation and also hear the other part or the employer. And then if anything doesn't come to an agreement in the first meeting of the reconciliation, they can reschedule and until you come to a point that there is an agreement. Okay, so the possible outcomes when you go to a reconciliation session is return to a former role or a comparable one in the same company, or you receive a compensation up to 6 months pay reinstatement. No, it's not practical, means you pay you how much they can pay based on the size of their businesses, or they can say there is no order. If the Fair Work Commission finds that dismissal was fair, means that you did something that was the employer had the right to dismiss you. So be very sure before you go into this that you have the rights, that you have done the right things, okay? Anti-discrimination and bullying situations at workplace. So in Australia, it's very clear that you cannot be harassed or discriminated against anywhere, including the workplace. Okay. So you can report this to your manager, to HR, or even if it's a small company and you don't trust anyone there, you can go to Fair Work Ombudsman straight away, and then you can put a complaint. Okay. Any doubts here about your rights while working? If not, we go ahead. So here, one thing is very important here in Australia is the workplace health and safety. So a safe work environment in Australia is under the Safe Work Act Australia. So it means that where you are working, the environment needs to be safe, and you need to be safe wearing protection in this case, in the case of your work being very dangerous, if you are using machinery or if you are using hot, cold, um, I say tools or liquids or chemicals, so you need to be protected. In this case, the company they have the obligation to provide you an induction to explain where you'll be working, how you will be working, and what is the safest way to be working in that environment. So they also must provide you with a personal protective equipment that is called PPE, and your duties is follow the safe procedures. So normally the induction, they teach you everything. They have regulations for everything. So follow the safe procedures. Report anything that you see as a hazard, and never perform tasks you have not been trained for. In Australia, they train you basically for everything. If you never have done that, don't do it, because if it requires safe procedure and you do without the safe procedure and anything happens, guess what? It's a big problem for you too. So if anything happens, you should be in your contract in your manual what is the procedure that you need to take if anything happens. If unsafe conditions persist, contact a Safe Work Australia. So, an example, when I was researching about occupational health for migrant workers in Australia, I heard horrible stories about experience of migrants working very unsafe um, environments. And one of them was a pregnant woman. She was 8 months pregnant and she was working in a abattoir, and it was a wet floor, and she fell off. And the supervisor uh, didn't help her, but said to her that she need to continue her shift. And she continued. But she had the right to stop. She had the right to have assistance, to have medical evaluation or assessment, and she didn't receive any. So was it later on when she went to make the notification to Fair Work Australia, the company was fined because they didn't follow the procedures. But she had everything documented. Okay. So spotting, reporting red flags. So common warning signs that you need to pay attention. First is the payment. If it's cash hand offering you money that really they are not showing how much you should be receiving, not having superannuation contribution, not having the number of hours that you are working, not having the rates, how much you should be earning per hour, and what you are earning per hour. So this is a red flag. no formal contract or payslip provided to you, being asked for upfront fees for training and uniform. So if they ask you to pay, oh, no, thank you. And also if you see that it's unsafe to work doing that task, or if there's so much pressure and so much pressure because your visa hours as well, they talk about your visa all the time. They put you under a situation that they feel that you are working and they are making you a favor, doing you a favor. So it's something that you need to pay attention, okay? So keep, as I said before, all your records, could be a screenshot, emails, or pay slips. Raise your concern first with the employer, HR. It's very important if they have one. If they don't have one, if a small business that you are dealing um, directly with the owner, maybe you go straight with a Fair Work Australia. And also we have the Migrant Worker Center and many community legal center that can help you. Any doubts here about your rights and obligations in Australia? Let's go then to tax returns. So in Australia, uh, seems a bit difficult when you talk about tax return, but it's very simple. You can do your tax return yourself when you understand how to do it through the ATO website, or you can have an accountant to help you with that. Study Perth, normally they have people that come to the hub to explain how important it is to have your tax returns done and how you can do it. Normally, an accountant can charge you between $300 to $500 to do your tax return, but because you're an international student, probably 250, and you can find someone that can help you too, okay? But there are also these free services on the community centers, but never get someone to help you and access your ATO account because they want to help you without the credentials. Because there are many people, they want to get into account, steal your details and taking over. So never share anything, never bring someone in front of the computer to say, help me here. If you need help, get a professional that is has the credential to help you, okay? So everyone needs to report the taxes every year, including international students. If you are a part-time, if you are a casual, if you are working as a tutor, as a freelance, everyone needs to lodge a return. It's compulsory in Australia. Compulsory in Australia. So what is the difference then between the people that live in Australia and people that are foreigners in Australia? So we do basically every year we have rights to the health service and the social service, and we also are charged that kind of a little contribution to the health system. Okay, so in this case, for foreign studying students, uh, there is a bit difference, not big one, but there is some difference. So the thing is, the impact on the tax-free threshold means that you have a threshold of the money that you receive that you won't be paying taxes, and when you pay tax, okay? So in our case here, we start paying tax after we earn more than $18,200. Until there, it's tax-free per year. In your case, no tax-free threshold and it's tax from zero. Means that you pay anyway your taxes. Okay, we have the big difference here. So, for example, you arrive here in February 2025, you arrived, you are studying full time, and you stay for 2 semesters like a resident. Your colleague comes for 3 months as an exchange only student, and he's treated as a foreign resident. So means that when you stay longer, you have this threshold back to you. But if you come for a short time, you not have it. Okay. So how will you lodge your return, your tax return with MyGov? So first you need to have your MyGov account, okay? And it's linked to your superannuation, your TFN, and everything comes in one website. So you can pre-fill your data. So who is your employer, um, how much you earn, how much tax has been withheld, your bank account, your details, and any government payments that you have done. You can do this manually. You can, if you also, you work not the full entire year, okay? You declare on the Australian income. So if you have investment or any bank interest in Australia, you also need to declare. Uh, Claiming deductions. So you need to understand if you are eligible for deduction. So it's something that you need to read based on your earning and the categories that you are in. So in this case, you use a drop down menu and work related expenses like home office. Nowadays, before COVID, you had lot of discounts for the people working from home. Nowadays, it's minimum, not much. Okay. Uh, Check notice of assessment, normally every 2 weeks, and how to pay. The thing is, when they assess your claim or your tax return, take them normally 2 weeks, and then if they pay you something, they send you an email or they send an information inside of the website, then you have a notification that you need to go and open your profile and see what is in there. But be very careful because there are so many scams wanting to access your ATO account. So never click on links because ATO never send links to you. But you need to remember your account and name and your password to be able to be there. And also, if you forget your password, I believe that three-way process to get you back to the system. Okay. So secure your passwords and everything you're logging in a place that you can easily use. So yeah, your tax return needs to be is from 1st of July from current year to 30th of June of the next year. Okay, so let's say our next tax return, the one currently started on 1st of July 2025 and the 30th of June 2026. Okay, it's always this way. Where I come from is March to March. No, it's December to December, and the last period is March to complete the tax return. So normally the tax return, because finishing on 30th of June, you have until 31st of October to lodge your tax return. If it's after 30th of June, 31st of October, you pay fine. If you are business, I believe you can do until March of the following year, but you need to have an accountant to do this for you. So always save your login and a secure password, and never again share with anybody else or bring anybody else to your computer or to a screen to show your details. Okay. So penalties, late lodgement is here if you lodge after 31st. So you can pay a penalty of 900 plus. If you claim things that are not really right, they can do an audit to find out why you have done that, if you are right or not. And always keep your records for 5 years because you can dispute anything. If you are owing tax, so you can also make a payment plan. You don't need to pay everything at once, and avoiding debt collection if you don't pay your taxes. Okay. Again, if you get a tax or an agent, accountant or a tax agent for you, you need to really be sure that the person you are contracting has the credentials. You can find this on the CPAs Australia, or the websites, the accounting professionals Australia, and you can see who is listed there, who is not listed. But be sure that you know or have someone who referred you, have used their services, or even the reviews on Google. Okay, so when you need to have a tax agent, if you had, as I said before, multiple employers, if you have investments, you are bringing investments or doing investments, or if you have a scholarship payment that need to a special treatment. When you can deduct something from your tax lodge. So the thing is, when you claim large unusual deductions, so extensive self-deduction, overseas work expenses, so in this case here, for non-resident status, your tax residency is borderline or has changed middle year. Agents can help you determine the current status. So if you are not sure how to treat things, it's better to bring an agent. And also, if you don't have the time and the confidence to do it, you can go through initially with one tax agent and then learn how to do, and then you can avoid penalties or missed refunds. Okay, so how to choose a registered tax account? Here you have check the registration, experience with international students, see if the person really knows how to work with international students, because it's specifically knowledge applicable here. How much they charge you, and also if you are meeting them in person, by phone, or online. Much better to you to meet someone face to face, to see who is the person. You have the record also that you have met the person, and if they are available, especially during the peak of lodgement. Don't leave for the last minute, because then you'll be paying more for a tax agent because they are busy. Okay, look for a student testimonial or ask your peers for recommendations. Study Perth, as I said before, can provide some tax return workshops, so you can learn more about there. Okay, let me check here the message that we have. Uh, any tax refunds you are eligible as international students. You can have, depends what you are using. I'm not an expert in this field, so I cannot really tell you that you can have, depends of each person. I had tax returning when I was international student because I was studying. I was in that time I was not working, and all my money was to pay, that I had was to pay, and also I have a child, so that's why I could get some return there. Okay, so it's specific. I cannot really tell you, but it's possible too. So before you engage with a professional, be sure that you are familiar if lodgings returned for, they are not, they are familiar with a lodging returned for no residents or part-time resident students. Questions that you can ask the person. What's your fee structure? Is per hour? Is per service? Do you handle amendments if ATO requires my return? Will you provide me with a client engagement letter outlining services and responsibilities? It's like a job contract. You need to know what is the professional is providing you, how much they are charging you, and what is included in the service that they are providing you. Okay. Always keep your records, and the agent you also provide probably an electronic copy of your lodgement that you have done, and anything that is related to your tax return. Okay. These are the resource for you where you can find your visa and work rights, where you can get your tax file number and any ABN with ATO, tax returns and your taxes, more information that you can read about, superannuation, very important for you to understand how much you will be earning and the awards that you get after hours of working on weekends, about your pay slips and record keeping, employment contracts, workplace health and safety, fair working protection, spotting reporting issues, and pay calculator and wage tax calculator. So any doubts that you'd like to ask me right now before we finish up this and before you do the uh, survey for Study Birth? Anything they'd like to know, they'd like more clarification about the theme of your rights and obligation in Australia regarding employment? If you have, just type, open your microphone. I'm more than happy to see you, hear you, or read your information. So I have just added a link here for you to complete the survey feedback for Study Perth. And I will send you the booklet when I get the attendance and the survey is completed. Thank you very much for the compliment here. Anjali Plaza, I don't know if you can change your name, it would be nice. So I'm calling you Anjali because Anjali, my colleague, but everyone came in as Anjali. I don't know why. Okay. So yeah, thank you very much. So when you completed your survey feedback, could you please put here on the chat, in the chat that you have done, like done, done, done. I know that you have completed here your session. I put some music for you while you do it. 98.